On this episode, we talk about Salt Lake City FanX 2022.
And there's a lot to talk about. You saw a lot of panels, you saw the coolest cosplays, and yeah, we're going to talk all about it.
Okay, where do you want to start? There's so much to talk about.
FanX 2022, the Salt Lake Comic Convention. You know, they have to call it FanX for legal reasons because there's a convention out there. Ooh, you can't call yourselves Comic-Cons, which it was always a stupid, greedy thing from San Diego to, sue for, it's like suing someone for the word, I don't know, picnic, maybe not picnic, barbecue, or state fair, state fair. Something big that every city can have one, but anyways.
But, yeah. Anyways.
Fun thing, as I was walking the floor, I met this guy. He came and talked to me, we started talking, and he was talking about how he always... He's been to every single one, and he really likes it. He makes friends, and I guess that's why he talked to me. And he was talking about how when the Holy Trinity came to FanX, that kind of make San Diego pissed, and that's why they decided to fight. And by Holy Trinity, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford, which I didn't know Harrison Ford has been to FanX.
I didn't know he did these, except the ones he has to.
Apparently, he did. I don't know. I would have to check. But either way, Stanley came once and said it was the biggest, the best, and the man knew his comic books, he knew his conventions because he helped create it. Anyways, so FanX 22, so a lot happened. We tried to catch a lot. We couldn't catch everything because
it was not physically possible.
It was we had a limited team, and we couldn't get everything. But we got, I don't know, probably got the best.
I feel like we hit the highlights, the things that are most important, but truly it is like just physically impossible to do everything, and especially this year they had more guests than they have ever had before, and so Celebrity Row was packed with people getting autographs and photo ops. The vendor floor was huge and crowded and full of art. We've got Artist Alley, we've got like just so much amazing stuff happening, and then there were so many panels. We had to make some tough choices, frankly, but even though we missed out on a few things, what we did was so much fun, and all the time in between panels we spent in the hallways taking pictures of some pretty amazing cosplays.
Pictures of day 1 are available on our pages. Day 2 and day 3 coming soon, and pretty soon, maybe by the time you're listening to this, they all might be on our pages.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of cool cosplays, a lot of funny people, families, single people, bizarre people. There's like all types of there was like for all tastes, from books to comic books to movies to TV shows to video games, and there was so much going on, and there's always so much going on. I found out once we got home from the last day, I found out of stuff that I didn't know that was going on. Yeah. So on the second floor, or third, I think a second.
Second, there's just the 2 floors.
I don't know, because there was on the top floor, which sure, let's say it's the second, but we didn't see. So that's why maybe it's a third one. They had a 24/7. I mean, not 24/7, but convention hours karaoke. So there was always people there singing.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Where was that?
Top floor. I don't know.
Wow.
But there was like, if you wanted to watch movies, there were screenings. There were game. What's it called?
Yeah, there's tabletop gaming. Yeah, they have a little wrestling corner.
Yes.
Like with like pro, semi-pro wrestling. I don't know what level, but yeah, there's wrestling happening the whole time. There's food.
Good deals. That you can always buy, like, that was comic books by $1, comic books by less if you buy more, and also collectibles. You can always find something.
The Loungefly backpacks.
To complete your collect.
Funko Pops, all kinds of like statues,
lightsabers,
So
costumes,
many
accessories,
lightsabers.
shirts, art. The artists came to autograph and also to sell art. That was like we heard of people that were spending like $1-2 grand on art. So it's pretty cool. That's for all tastes, all flavors, all opinions. And we went to check some of that. A lot of that, and let's talk about it. So, on day one, we saw a couple panels, and we saw a lot of cosplayers. We checked the floor. The first panel we saw was Anthony Michael Hall.
So, Anthony Michael Hall got his start with John Hughes movies back in the 80s, and has been able to stay pretty busy, either in front of or behind the camera since then, playing all kinds of roles. He's the kind of actor who just like works, and so if that means voiceover, he does it. If that means being a villain, cool. If that, so he's always working. He's always doing something.
And his panel, most of the panels, if not all of the panels, sometimes they have panels that are not. All the panels we checked, they were all Q&A. So the fans, as the name says, FanX, the fans have the experience to talk to their celebrity idols and to ask questions, and they can ask pretty much anything with certain limitations, but limitations to keep the experience good for everybody. So how was Anthony Michael Hall? I thought it was very interesting because the way he talks about. I mean, it was good as a John Hughes fan. It was good because he gave some details of the person, the relationship, how he treated, how he made movies, how he would like go home and write a script overnight, and how he treated them. They were kids, the relationship with them, and how. Who was? I'm thinking about another great director that we learned in another panel. But what else? So Anthony Michael Hall talked about how John Hughes would like take them to concerts, take them to record stores, and then it was just like constantly working. Had so many irons in the fire. He was writing one movie while he was making another, which is probably how he turned out so many of like the iconic films of the 80s and films that have really lasted. Breakfast Club really hit me as a teenager, even though I didn't even go to public high school. I was homeschooled, but there was still so much in there that spoke to the American teenage experience. She was the sixth one,
What?
There was a basket case.
Oh yes, the basket case, the princess, the jock, the criminal, the geek, and the homeschooler.
And the homeschooler. That's not on the show for obvious reasons.
Anyway, I was definitely the geek, and anyway, I forgot what I was going. I think it's amazing how he managed to make this movie that was set in the 80s and was so 80s in so many ways, but then also spoke to me, 20 plus years later as a homeschool teenager. Anyway, the irony is, and this is what I asked him about, John Hughes kept Anthony Michael Hall working like all through his teen years. And so even though he was in these high school movies, he didn't really actually go to high school. He did like the onset tutoring and things like that. To be clear, he did not mind that at all. He was not upset about missing school. And he did get, decent education. They always have, I think at the time he said they had to do like 3 hours of school every day with tutors on set and stuff. But I just thought that was funny and ironic that like the face of American high school never actually went to high school. But that's Hollywood for you. At least they were real teenagers and not like 30-year-olds.
A couple more things we learned from him was that he's working on a movie. There's kind of a homage, referential, big time on Breakfast Club.
Yes.
And is not trying to reboot or to remake, but there's a lot of that. So apparently he mentioned that instead of 5 students, this one is 6, right?
I think so.
All the things that we learned from him was about Vacation. The original ending of Vacation, in the original ending, instead of getting to the park and having to deal with the great John Candy, there's the guard and convincing him to finally ride in the empty park. They go to the owners, the founders' house and kidnap him. And they did screen audiences. They did this focus screening for audiences, and they said, no, it doesn't.
Yeah. It was like every card was like, we need to see them get to the park. What the heck is this?
So they took that out of the movie, which incidentally in the future in another John Hughes movie became part of Christmas Vacation, where they do kidnap the boss, Randy. Not Randy. Randy is the actor.
Cousin Eddie.
Eddie, yeah. Anyways.
Honestly, it's my favorite part of that movie.
What else about Anthony Michael Hall?
Well, just the other part of that story was because of how much time had passed between when they shot and when they decided to redo the ending. It was a full year, and during that year, in his words, puberty just like hit him pretty hard. So in those scenes where they're on the roller coaster, like with John Candy and stuff, Anthony Michael Hall is quite a bit taller than he was in the rest. He said a foot taller, but not that much. But like he's taller, his voice is changing.
Hair.
He's got his hair is different color. Like this is a completely different human being than shot the rest of the film. And you could say he also talked about how like what a joy it was to work with John Candy and how Chevy Chase is like sarcastic and everything, and John Candy just wanted to make people laugh and make people happy. And what a pleasure it was to work with him. Yeah. So.
Also on day one, we saw a panel with 2 of the Titans from the HBO Titans show. Curran, what's his bucket?
Curran Walters.
Curran Walters and Conor Leslie. Conor is the girl. Curran is the boy. So just to be clear. So he is Robin, and then
Jason Todd.
and then Red Hood, and she is Wonder Girl. And it was cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this panel, especially Conor Leslie. I love to hear actors talk about how seriously they take these comic book roles, because sometimes the superhero movies get a bad rap. Martin Scorsese and other people have made comments about how lame this stuff is.
I mean, from Scorsese to say I think it's fine. He's entitled to his opinion.
Sure, absolutely.
He proved that he makes movies. What bugs me is people that work on these. And after, like kind of dismiss it and say something smaller, or even when he's working on this kind of movies. This guy on Aquaman called working on this kind of superhero movies clown work. And I don't know, I didn't see him saying, because, if you pick that... It might sound like he's depreciating. Someone like who was it? DiCaprio gave this concert to was someone there?
Know.
I can't remember. Anyways, moving on. So she showed respect for the work she does, and also considering the hundreds of thousands of fans that follow something, and she treated with care and respect.
Yeah, and really takes the character seriously. And so we asked them if they had any access to the Batcave, what would they what Bat gadgets would they like to use as individuals, not what their characters would do, but what they would do. And I thought their answers were really fun. Curran, Jason Todd, he was like, I would take
Batman.
I would take Batman. And then he changed his answer and he said, I would take a tire off the Batmobile. And we're like, deep cut humor.
It's a very, very funny joke, because if you read the books, you know that Jason became Robin because he was trying to steal one of the wheels of the Batmobile, which is such
a Jason Todd thing to do. And honestly, I could totally see this kid doing it. But anyway, And then Connor's answer is, she's like, I want the Batmobile. I think, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I am on the same page with that. And the moderator was like, well, what about the bike? Like the motorcycle? She's like, yeah, it's nice, but I want the Batmobile. And, she talked about how she could be Batman. People take her so much more seriously. So, of course, she gets out and they realize she's a woman. And there's that whole thing. She didn't get too much into it. She also talked about how much she wants to wear the Dark Star suit. And I totally agree about this. And I'm kind of surprised that
No, not the Dark Star. She was Troya.
Troya. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's a dark suit with...
Yes,
it's
stars.
Like black with stars. Okay,
yeah.
Which
in the books is like... It's not like black with white dots. It's actually stars. So you could, with visual effects, you could do something very, very...
That would be so cool.
Yeah, cool.
And especially like now that she's had the whole comeback from the dead arc. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see it. And it fits their whole vibe of like... Well, anyway.
Yeah, and Donna Troy is a constant in the book. She went to Titans... the long run, I think because the Kid Flash becomes the Flash and gets out. Robin Nightwing once in a while gets out too to take care of Blood what's it called? Blood Haven. But she's a constant that she dies several times like comic book characters do. She becomes a Dark Star. She change identities, etc. etc. That was one of the questions that was fun. Someone asked who you think should join the Titans, and I can't remember who said. Maybe it was the person there. Maybe it was the moderator, but Roy Harper.
Yes.
There was an Arrow as Red Arrow, whatever they called him.
Yeah.
But he was again constant. I found a member of the Titans and becomes Arsenal. And is a pretty cool character. That
I think he'd really fit in with the show.
Yeah.
Too. That would make. Yeah, that would be seamless. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that happen. Anything else about Titans?
No.
Cool.
Just that there's a new season coming, and just a pop breaking news. Since we don't own that theme, image leaked from the set of Stargirl. And confirmed a crossover between Stargirl, Titans, and Doom Patrol.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, it's going to be big.
That's going to be bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be great. To be clear, bizarre in this sense is very good. Okay. Cool. All right, next up we got to see some of the Clerks.
Yes, Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson.
And they were supposed to be there that day.
Yes. They talked about the movie, the original movies, the new movie we didn't see yet. But fans ask stuff about it and how the journey was. And later we're going to talk about Kevin Smith. We're going to go more through that.
Yeah.
And they there was like a lot of curiosities came out on that panel as well, like the original ending of Clerks.
Yes.
One of them got shot and died.
Yeah.
Also, it didn't work with how the entire movie was, and Kevin was convinced to change, and which gave us a lot more Clerks movies, 2 more to be exact, but also
and basically gave Brian O'Halloran a career and
Kevin Smith other movies, because maybe if he killed him, maybe it wouldn't work as it did.
Yeah.
And he would be one movie wonder, as they said in the panel.
Yes. They also talked a lot about just the work of promoting it, taking it to Sundance, and all this stuff. There was a lot of sleeping on hotel room floors and just like the absolute lack of budget that they had for this. How they, like the choice to shoot in black and white, this was not artistic, it was because they couldn't afford the light kit to do it in color. But I mean, all these circumstances came together to make such a great film that I really enjoy. Anyway, so that was fun. Also, Jeff Anderson is I don't know if he's like doing a bit or if this is just who he is. But he's just as he's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original Clerks, the characters are based on true life real life characters.
Mm-hmm.
One is Kevin Smith. There was one of the Clerks. The other one is Brian. I can't remember his name. Brian, I can't remember. But he's part of the comic book man. There's a guy with long beard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they were both. One was a clerk on a convention. What's it called? Convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one in a video store.
Yeah.
So they had pretty much like in the movie, but one of the things that we learned, I can't remember if it was like Kevin Smith panel on this one, but since we're there,
they talked about him.
that originally Kevin Smith was supposed to be Kevin Smith on the movie, but I can't remember if it was pressures from the producers or whatever, but ended up not happening.
Yeah.
And they got those guys.
Which I think was another good decision.
Because then we got Silent Bob from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, more about Clerks and the Kevin Smith panel. We're going to talk in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
After the Clerks panel, we saw
Walking Dead!
The Walking Dead panel with David Morissey and Ross Marquand. One, there's a character that's sticking around at least lately. The other one, is the governor that died a while ago. Sorry, spoiler alert. Yeah. But come on.
But it seems like for all... I haven't watched the show, but it just seems like for all of them, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because it's like... They keep kind of changing characters, changing the cast of characters, kill 3, get 2 more, and then, There was a Rick Grimes, that was the character that was lasting from day 1 to... but then he left.
Yeah.
That was promised and announced a couple months ago that he's going to get a movie, and they're going to see him again, but, yeah. Anyways, the Walking Dead panel was fun. Ross Marquand did Wreck-It Ralph's voice.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly, he does impressions.
He does, and they're so good. He did a Trump impression that was like truly hilarious and not traumatic or offensive at all. Which, what a gift. But something I've noticed, we've seen a few people come over the years from The Walking Dead, and every time they talk about working on set and all the rest, they all seem to love it. They all say it was so hard because Georgia is hot and humid, and they're out in the woods, and there's bugs, and there's makeup, and it's just really, it's tough work, but they seem to come away with this great sense of camaraderie and really just intense professionalism on set, and just what an incredible experience it is. And so I think that has a lot to do with the success of the show. Not just that it's a great story and they're doing a good job telling it, but just the way something special is happening on that set. And
it reflects the good environment reflects how the good the show is. There was some of the guests, I can't remember who was it. Wasn't Delancey? No, someone was invited to work on Breaking Bad. Who was?
We had Giancarlo.
No. Esposito was a regular. It was someone.
Yeah.
I think it was Delancey.
He was on Breaking Bad.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. That's who you're thinking of.
He was talking about how he got there, and everything on the show was spot on, organized. Everybody worked well together. Everybody was excited because they were doing,
because they're making good stuff.
Yeah, and that converted in good stuff. And he said, he said once he walked in the set, he says, "Oh, the show is good." He could tell just by how things run. Not like another comma for breaking news. Not like Don't Worry Darling, that rumors are popping that Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh literally screamed at each other on the set. Anyways, just to close this quick pop news, the movie is doing really low on Rotten Tomatoes, so it was one of those dogs that bark loud, but it didn't bite. Yeah,
but I suspect if someone makes a movie or a miniseries about making this movie, it might might do okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. Frankly, that's what I would rather see. But yeah. So then John Delancey also, and he was actually the next panel. Him and Brent Spiner were there to talk about.
Yeah, the Star Trek panel. Star Trek
Next
Next
Generation.
They had John Delancey and Brent Spiner. There's an alumni. I don't know about Delancey if he's been here before.
I don't know.
He did mention that I promised. He did mention that he promised and he promised and he finally came.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was.
I get the feeling this was the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just one more thing about the Breaking Bad set. He did talk about too how the incredibly high standards behind the camera really brought out the best in him and inspired him to work harder and to do better, and helped him to be a better actor. And so that does seem to be a common theme. That we've seen from others. Anyway. Yeah. So anything else about Walking Dead before we get into Star Trek?
No, it was always a good panel, entertaining. These people are professionals and they're fun people, and yeah. So the Next Generation panel. We've seen Brent Spiner before, and he's fun. He's got good stories because not only was he on the whole run of Next Generation, which I think was 9 seasons, and then all of their movies, but he also pops up in lots of other. He's been at Picard playing a couple of different roles. I don't remember him on Enterprise.
Yep, he was on Enterprise.
I don't remember him at all. When I saw it back, I was like, what kind of Photoshop is that?
Nope, it's not. He was Noonien Soong. I think he was playing
the human.
Dr. Soong, yeah. Yeah.
I still don't remember.
It was brief but exciting. Maybe it wasn't that brief. It's been a long time. Anyway, so the person I was really excited to see was John Delancey, who plays Q, who is one of the greatest characters. And so he had incredible episodes on Next Generation and this great relationship with Jean-Luc Picard. And then also he shows up on Voyager and has some of the greatest episodes on Voyager. And then there's also tons of great comics and novels written about him interacting with other captains. And he's such a great character, and a lot of that has to do with John Delancey's portrayal and the choices that he made. And yeah, he was not disappointing at all. So they, as per usual, they answered fan questions, so stories from set, stories about their processes.
But you asked him a question, right?
I did. I asked them what captain they would like to serve with. And I think they kind of misunderstood. I should have said, if you found yourself in Starfleet. But they kind of took it as, acting, which is totally fine. They both said Patrick Stewart. And so especially for John Delancey, that back and forth with Patrick Stewart is so choice on the Next Generation. And he said something odd that when he was on Voyager, they kept they were so afraid that Kate Mulgrew was going to play Catherine Janeway as becoming infatuated with Q, which is so far from what was written and so far from what happened on scene or on screen. Whereas with Patrick Stewart, I don't know, it was just weird. With Patrick Stewart, there was sometimes this odd tension or Q's obsession with Picard. It was where is this going? What kind of obsession is this? Anyway. But yeah, they both loved working with him, and I've heard this from Patrick Stewart and from other TNG actors that Patrick Stewart was he really was the captain on the set too, not just on screen but behind the scenes, telling people what to do, reminding them to be professionals,
they did
things like that.
Yeah.
I think Brent Spiner said he was it Brent Spiner or John Delancey said he was kind of poopy.
Was poopy?
Yeah.
Honestly, I can hear it was John Delancey.
Yeah. He was a bit of a. Anyway.
Yeah, that he liked to tell people what to do. On the other hand, Q and Picard, John Delancey and
Patrick
Stewart. I mixed the whole thing.
Yeah.
He said they used to go to his house and rehearse.
Yeah.
To get things as good as we saw on the screen.
Yeah, and it shows. They have some of the best scenes in the franchise. That courtroom scene, oh man, that is good Star Trek. where Q's like, I'm putting all of humanity on trial.
It's pretty cool. It's a very interesting dynamic. It's like the guard that comes to play with mortals. It's like Marvel did that in Secret Wars. Beyonder grabbed the heroes, grabbed the villains, put them all on the planet, let them fight. There's a Mr. Spitalik has some of that.
Yes.
Come the imp from the fifth dimension and come fight with Superman and fight with mankind, just for fun. And the way to kick him out is to make him say his name backwards. It's not really. Anyways. But yeah, it was really fun. Star Trek panel, and that was the end of day 1. On day 2, we started with Psych, a show that everybody seems to love, and I personally never seen one single episode.
It's a really fun whodunit, and
it's whodunit. The show is a whodunit.
The show, yeah, it's a crime show.
Every episode is a whodunit. Every episode.
Yeah, it's a police procedural. But it was so funny, and then you have these characters, and you just fall in love with. And yet again, Maggie Lawson and Timothy Omundsen, they're the ones who are here. They play Jules and Lassie. They talked about how the set is just this love fest. The crew, the actors, like, they just love each other. To the point that Maggie Lawson and Timothy Omundsen, their families spend Christmas Eve together. Like, these people are close and tight. And that definitely came across, and I think is a big part of why the show has such a huge following, even though it's been a long time since it ended.
Yeah, but after that I had a movie, and there's more movies coming.
Yeah. Yeah, and as well, after that, Timothy Omundsen had a horrible stroke. And has worked so hard to come back to where he is now. And so it's, anytime you see him, it's very emotional. Remembering like who he was and who he is now, and understanding just thinking about what went into getting him back to the point where he can walk and talk and all of that. So he told some stories from Gallivant about learning to sing and how fun it was to like ride horses in Morocco and the English countryside and having a sword, and what more could a man want? And I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah,
it was fun, even though I never seen the show. The panel was fun. I know him from other things from Gallivant. He was in a couple episodes of Seinfeld when he was very young.
That's right.
And I know her, I don't know, there's a baseball show. I always see her like the young, the newer, younger version of Alicia Silverstone. She has
she's very similar
blonde kind of beauty that she had, and the
like
roles,
California.
The roles are similar too. So I've seen her in plenty of things. I knew about her, I knew about him, and the panel was fun, was entertaining. The fans loved.
So much.
And they showed, they talked about a podcast they have together.
Yeah, it's called The Psychologists Are In.
Yeah, so if you're a fan, you guys should check that one too.
Yeah, okay, after Psych, it was like the panel of panels. William Shatner.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Captain Kirk was in the house. Oh. And geez, the guy was deep. He started. It's like a first question was a simple question. This guy is a recurrent fan. He's always there. You can you can tell because he's always asking questions. And he asked him about going to space. And so how is going to space? Something like very simple. And he's like, oh really? You gotta ask that? It's like, I could say it's awesome. But, I'm pretty sure you're not going to like that answer, right? It's like, no. And then you start talking
20 minutes later.
20 minutes.
It was
the whole process.
Great 20 minutes, though.
And the end of the process was like very philosophical and beauty, life-changing for him. But the way he talks, it might change other people's lives, too, on how we connected in more ways than technologically, but sociologically, but, in very deep soul ways.
Yes. And I really enjoyed it. So at this point, and this was very emotional for me, obviously I am a huge Trekkie, and anyway, so at this point, because of like where I was in the question line, as he was talking about space, I was like literally sitting like at his feet. And so sitting at the feet of Captain Kirk as he talks about his voyages, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is a high point.
Yeah. There was another fun fact. Larry David crashed into William Shatner's panel, and they had like a one-on-one. It wasn't really Larry David. It was straight out of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
They started asking. It's like he started asking questions to this guy. The guy keep asking questions. So they had this whole back and forth, to a point that, again, she was like next online, but these was like taking, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to talk about what they really talked about, actually.
I don't even know, man. They were all over the place. These were two very old men just like on a mental and conversational journey to I don't know where.
Yeah, the guy actually started.
But it was fun.
The guy started it for a joke. I don't know if many other people got it, but or even Shatner got it. It's like I have a life, which is something I wanted to scream, but the thing was getting so deep. I ended up not to. It was like at some moment I was decided to scream, "Get a life!" Because there's a SNL sketch where William Shatner goes to a convention of sorts, and it's like, people, and he's like, "Get a life!"
Oh.
And it became a classic thing to say when dealing with. I think he wrote a book called Get a Life.
He's written quite a bit.
He talk about music. He does music.
He does. He gets made fun of a lot for it, but he's like, I did this album and I'll use the word singing. So, like, he's aware. Just know that he is aware that what he does is not singing, but there's not necessarily another word for what he does.
Yeah.
But I found that very amusing.
So Kennedy Center, he's touring there.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, you did ask him a question.
Yeah. So and my question didn't inspire a whole lot of like deepness. It was actually like the most succinct answer. I just wanted to know like what he brought to Captain Kirk, but then also what Captain Kirk brought to him. Because any of these characters that we see, there's a whole team of people that goes into it. We've got the screenwriters, we've got directors on set, we've got sometimes producers get their hands involved, and then of course the actor themselves. So I was curious like how much of that was Shatner.
And there's also two types of actors. There's the actors that go read the script, they're gonna memorize and read the script. There's the actor they're gonna try to change and eventually gonna change. We learned something like that from Tom Cavanaugh, that he create the versions of Wells.
Yes.
But anyways, about Shatner.
Yeah, so he just said like every role like you bring yourself. You just put your whole self into it. And so like Captain Kirk was me, and then he's like, and I said, what did Captain Kirk bring to you? He goes, Captain Kirk brought me to you. Oh. Mr. Shatner. But I thought it was lovely. He also talked about how you need to when we're children, everything is like, oh, wow. And how we need to bring that attitude with us into adulthood, and how he's cultivated that, which I think explains a lot of who Shatner is. If you've seen him in anything, he's really cultivated the sense of, wow. And yes. And that was something I loved about hearing his journey into space. As I get really excited about the space program, and a lot of what he talked about, astronauts have shared too, like how being able to see the Earth from that perspective really changes their perspective on humanity and all that. But these are like scientists and engineers, and they're on a mission, whereas Shatner was just up there for kicks, basically.
Yeah,
he's
an artist,
Exactly.
He's a very, very emotional person.
He's an artist, he's a philosopher, and he's a writer, and so he was able to articulate this experience in a much more like developed way than maybe we've heard before. So it was beautiful. I left very happy, and I managed not to cry and make a fool of myself, and I'm very happy about that.
Anyway, so yeah, it was fun. It's always fun to see him. It was my second time seeing him in Salt Lake. Every time he comes, he talks about how he was at the U, trying to create a project that eventually will go to Broadway.
Yeah.
And he received a phone call offering a job on Star Trek. So
and since he'd already signed a contract, he wanted to go on Broadway, but he'd signed this contract, so he had to go back to LA.
So he always tells the story, and this time he told the story how he was ripped off. Someone sold him a Rembrandt, a sketch, and he took home and took to evaluators, and it wasn't. They laugh at him. Anyways, Captain Kirk Shatner is always fun to see. It was good, and every time he would answer a question, it was a lecture. It was fun. I mean, if you're not in the line waiting because you might have a heart attack, it's like it's you are next, and there's still 30 minutes to go. But then he starts spending 25 minutes on the question before you.
Yeah.
And
I find that's common with the older actors. Like they're just going to share all their life experience.
And he does, and he controls the room. He's the one-man show, and he doesn't have a moderator. He stands there and he does it. Some people do that really well. He's one of them.
Yeah. In fact, when he walked out, he just grabbed the chair and dragged it right up to the front of the stage. And was like, all right, here we go. Anyway.
Yeah. And he did that in the Vivint Arena, the Utah Jazz Arena here. He did that Anyways, moving on.
Okay.
Let's I want to go through all of it. We only.
We're taking a long time.
Okay, so Tom Cavanaugh. What's his first name on the show? Harrison Wells on The Flash.
Yep.
And also all different versions of Wells.
And also the Reverse Flash.
Yeah, and his panel was interesting.
Yeah.
He talked about directing Lois and Clark. Not Lois and Clark, Superman and Lois.
But she says that show is all about heart and spectacle and a $4 million budget, and I think he's doing a great job over there. I'm loving Superman and Lois.
And you asked about acting or directing, right? And his answer was very interesting.
Yeah, he actually quoted Clint Eastwood saying he's moving into directing because he doesn't want to stop acting, and so directing lets him still focus on that, and really focus on acting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
He also talked about like he's willing to come back as Wells, but the real reason he's on The Flash is to be the Reverse Flash, and how much he loves like putting on those suits and taking on these big roles.
Yeah, and who doesn't? But it was fun panel.
It was fun, and then after him was Corey Feldman, and man, this is a
Corey Feldman
roller coaster.
Yeah, the star of the Goonies, Stand By Me.
Last Boys.
The Burbs, Last Boys, among others. The things we learned from him was, for me at least, was he sings since or even before he started acting. So he was a little kid, which I'm still kind of weird. It was like, how does that work? It's like a little kid. Anyways. He's very peculiar person.
Yeah.
His entourage includes...
First of all, he has an entourage. I don't think we've seen anybody with an entourage.
Yeah. Yes, everybody might have, but like there was someone on one of the panels yesterday that was like, talk about the wife and then the wave. She's definitely one of the front row people, but we don't know. It doesn't get involved. His was like we saw when they arrived together. He had the security, which is I don't know. I never seen it. They might have it, might be discreet. His was like the stuffed black guy.
Yeah.
With
I'm gonna stand here with my turtleneck and walk around, look around.
He stood by the stage. Anyways, he was super late because they had some logistic issues. I guess because
they always do.
They get people from they get those celebrities out of taking pictures and doing autographs, and sometimes there's like a lot more people there. So to get them all the way to the other side. So, but when he got there, he talked about his career. He talked about the great Richard Donner. They apparently paid for his rehab, and they were good friends.
He talked about him as a father figure.
Yeah.
Helped him get he's the one who like got him cast in The Lost Boys, so helped his career, but also helped him with his personal life too, which he really needed, because Hollywood chewed up this young man and spat him back out and just wrecked him.
Yeah, he was involved in a fight against exploitation, pedophilia, and harassment in Hollywood, and he was very voiceable, very vocal about it. But anyways, in this panel was about his work, and people ask about curiosity about the sets, about how it was to
filming Goonies.
Another quick fun story was that he stole the ear from Stand By Me, the bloody ear, and it was he tried to auction, but some hackers changed the system on the way. Whoever bought it for a bargain, but really cheap. And years later, he found out that Jordan Peele bought it. He was a big fan and say, I have that in my desk. Yeah. And I want to work with you, and say, hey, maybe in the future we'll see them working together.
I hope so. I just want Jordan Peele to keep doing things that I can watch. Okay, next we saw a My Hero Academia panel. This is not a show that we watch, but it is extremely popular.
It's just the best thing. No, I never seen. I mean, we saw one episode. Our niece told us we saw one episode. Yeah. And I confess that from what they say, I was like, hey, there's some interesting things here, but I'm not going to try it again. I'm not going to get into that. It's like it's eternal. It never ends. And
it's anime. Yeah.
When you are a kid, I watched Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z GT, Dragon Ball Z Kai, Dragon Ball. Anyways, when you grow with that, fine. Once you grow, it's like, I don't know. Maybe if my kids ever watch that, but anime, not my cup of tea. Even though I like the ones I mentioned, but I don't know. I hope and still root for the American content rise, and I hope they start making things, which is kind of disappointing because lately we see problems in our American productions, which is actually bringing more people to the Japanese, because the Japanese is sticking to their values and not changing for every time someone blinks. So the stories are consistent. Some really good stuff, are consistent to they're not changing for the sake of this social point of view or that social point of view, which in the American narratives, for the sake of the not for the sake of the story, in detriment of the story, they changing gender, color, story, just to appease some small social group. And in most of the times, not even a social group, there is worried about that. There's a very interesting quote about someone talking about representation. I think and there's a video of this little girl, and she's black, and she's kind of like thought it was the most ridiculous thing to cast a black Ariel. Anyway, I digress. My Hero Academia panel. It was fun. It's voice actors. Super talented. The fans were like very excited for them to be there. They answered questions.
Nobody has fans like anime.
And I know that the lady's favorite character is Togo, even though I don't know Togo and I don't remember the name of the lady.
Yeah, but it was clear. I guess my big takeaway is like these actors, they love anime as a genre, and they really love their work, and that is just so nice. It's so nice to see. But then we got to see Cobra Kai.
This was a big one. It was big because it was full, because season 4 was spectacular, and also because they had a lot of people from the cast. They had Sholo Mariduena, they have Tanner Buchanan, they have William Zabka, they had Thomas Griffith and Mary Mouser, and who I'm forgetting?
Robbie?
Yeah.
I don't remember
that's
the actor's
standard.
name.
That's standard. Tanner Buchanan.
Okay. Hawk?
Jacob. Yeah, Hawk. Bertrand.
Yeah.
And we saw panels of them before, and it's a great show. Did you ask a question?
I did not ask a question. This one was packed with very young, very enthusiastic fans. I was not going to take their time. But I guess my takeaway, first of all, these kids work so hard. They are doing a lot of the karate. There are stunt doubles for some things, but for a lot of stuff there isn't. They really are learning this choreography. And then also, like, William Zabka, man, what a journey this guy's been on. But someone asked a question about bullying, and he was so passionate about this, how important it is for kids to have an ally who's an adult, and how important it is for kids to ask for help. And, like, yeah, we can get into why the kid is bullying and all that other stuff later, but, like, no kid should be suffering like we see these kids in Karate Kid, in Cobra Kai. Like, we see these kids suffering. They need to have...
Miyagi.
Yeah, they need a Mr. Miyagi. And now Johnny is becoming that.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Fun fact, we learned that Thomas Z. Griffin is actually a black belt in karate. So
yes, he is really into martial arts and highly recommends it.
Yeah.
After that, we finally got to see Kevin Smith.
Yes.
And this man.
And late panel
Yep.
with Kevin Smith, and he right out of the gate, he shows why the panel was not only late, but it was 18 or older.
Yeah.
And after some of those jokes, he started talking about his movie, Clerks 3, and his journey, and how Clerks 1 was about him. Clerks 2 was very fiction, and Clerks 3 goes back to him, and how he had a heart attack, and then the character in the movie has a heart attack, and then he goes and decides to make a movie. Like, he made a movie, so it's like it's meta, self-referential.
He talks about he said Clerks 1 and Clerks 3 are films, and Clerks 2 is a movie.
Yeah, and he said that people leave the movie theater crying, and this time is they finally cry because the movie was good.
I know.
Like, not any other time that people cry because why? I watch Tusk. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
And of course there was Tusk questions. And he did something really cool. I thought it was time consuming, but someone asked what his least favorite film. And then he goes through all his films, and it's like, oh, let's see, this one for this, I love it. This one for this, I love it. And then he started doing like, this one, let's pause for a second, and then he would explain. And he realized that he loves all his movies.
He does.
Even the one that he's it's not that great. People don't consider that great, but it's like, but I worked with my kid, and it was fun, and yeah.
And at the end of the day, he gets to make movies for a living.
Yes.
And he gets to write.
And he has his audience, so if he makes something, it gotta find its audience.
It will. It will. The reasons I love Kevin Smith against my will. His films are packed with so much, like, foul language and crude content and stuff that is just frankly crass. Like Zack and Miri make a porno. Gross. Why do I like this guy? And I finally figured it out in this panel. He loves his work. He loves what he does. And also, he really loves his family. And so, once you, like, take out all of, like, the gross stuff, that's really what's coming through here.
And by family, there's his indirect family, like the people that work with him.
Yes.
They always work with him, so they're good friends, and became his, like, extended sort of family. Like, Jay is with him since the beginning, and how he fought for Jay to be in a movie. The studios wanted to give Seth Green, and even Seth Green, on his second movie, and even Seth Mallrats, and even Seth Green's like, no, the guy was perfect.
I know.
And
like, the producers made Jason Mewes audition to be Jay. They made Jay audition to be Jay. And if you need to, like, that says everything you need to know about Hollywood producers.
Yeah, anyways. So, yeah, it was fun. There was a lot about it. And we, unfortunately, going to have to keep going.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was his first time here, he said? No.
Yeah, this was his first time.
His first time here.
Yeah, he's another one been trying to get to come.
And, yeah, I think everybody liked it. Everybody had a chance to ask questions. And
he's another talker.
Fun fact, curiosity. He said he's working on a female action. A
female-led live action.
A live action based on an animation with all girls. So he convinced his daughter to co-write with him, and some of the details he mentioned makes me think, and that's me, if it's true. Hey, you guys should congratulate me for guessing, but it sounds like it's Gem and the holograms.
Yeah,
because it said it was based on a toy. Animations that was popular in the 80s. He said he liked it. I liked Gem. I thought it was fun. Pretty girls singing and doing like fun stuff, action stuff. I don't know. So my guess is Gem and the holograms. Moving on, because we have more to talk. Next day, we had this panel of Stranger Things. Eduardo Franco, Grace Van Dien, and Get Matarazzo, a fan favorite, a local fan favorite. He came here so many times.
He comes here all the time,
and he has family here, apparently. And it was fun. They talked about the show. People asked questions about, favorite scenes and favorite characters, or characters would be, the usual. Anything else?
Not a big takeaway, just Eduardo Franco. I loved him in the show, and turns out he's pretty lovable and adorable in person too. Just like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Really down to earth. Anyway, so super fun, and his hair. I need to know.
Anyways, moving on.
Yep, sorry. Okay, then we saw Steve Burns. This was one. This was for me because Alex did not watch Blue's Clues growing up. I was a teenager babysitting kids who watched it, and then when he left Blue's Clues and did his album Songs for Dust Mites, it's one of my favorite albums. Anyway, he talked a lot about how he's always working. He's doing lots of behind the scenes stuff, producing, directing. He's the voice. He does a lot of voiceover. So when you see a commercial, it says Snickers satisfies. That's Steve. But the big takeaway, he said the biggest lesson he learned from Blue's Clues was that Steve was never afraid to ask for help. Steve Burns had been through a lot of just really tough mental health stuff, and so the character Steve taught him that it was okay to ask for help. And I thought that was really beautiful. Also, the character is a combo of Grover plus the ending of Ferris Bueller.
Post-credit scene of Ferris Bueller Day Off.
Yeah. So there's that. It was lovely.
Yeah.
And then
also, we see Stephen Amell in a panel. There's a fun favorite, even though the show is gone, done and gone, but they still fill up the house. So it was fun. He promised Salt Lake that he promised that he would be on American Ninja Warrior. He did. This promise to us this time that he would bring Felicity, Emily back. Richards, whatever. Next time. Anyways, we saw Vincent D'Onofrio. Did you ask him a question?
We asked him about his original Marvel role as almost reluctant Thor in Adventures in Babysitting. That got a smile out of him, cheer from the crowd.
Yeah, we're gonna get those questions, those sound bites, those videos up online so you can appreciate more. And last but least, we saw one Giancarlo.
Last but not least.
What is that?
Least.
Not least. Anyways, last but not least, we saw Giancarlo's Esposito, and the man preached.
Oh my gosh. This is a pattern, I think, among the older actors. Shatner, Esposito.
Oh, but Shatner's much older.
Yes, a lot older, but I mean like Jason Isaacs, John Rhys Davies. I would say older, like 50 plus. They get up there and they've just got all this life wisdom they want to share.
Yeah,
and Esposito's like, he's up there, like he got off the chair and was like walking back and forth, and the volume of his voice raises.
Yeah.
All of his theater training came out.
Yeah,
by the way, he's doing
theater.
Yeah, he's doing King Lear at the Armory in New York next year. I wish I could see it. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, and that's what she asked him about.
Yeah, because this man, like, if he doesn't do Shakespeare, it would be a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
But he does, so that's okay.
He said he loved Magneto. The fans said he loved to see him in Magneto. He said the meeting was years ago. So I don't know if the recent rumors are another meeting he didn't talk about.
But he did talk about how like the fan casting is getting... It doesn't take much to set off the rumors.
Yeah. Anyways, there was cool. A bit. I not even talked about cosplays.
Oh my gosh!
There's so many cosplays.
Really good ones.
Top one. What was your favorite?
The one that I got most excited about was I thought it was Avatar Kyoshi, and then all of a sudden, Sokka popped up next to her. And I was like, oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It's Suki and Sokka, which, if you know, you know.
I love to see so many of what we do in the Shadows cosplay, not just Laszlo's. It was pretty cool.
Yes.
Anyways, we are out of time, so we see you next week with more pop culture news, a review, movies, TV, May the force be with you.
Live long and prosper. Bye!
Bye.